Hey everybody, I want to do a quick video talking about what it takes, in my opinion, from my 5 years experience to go from a journeyman electrician to a foreman, and just some things that I've seen and the trajectory that I only very recently became aware of that's possible for someone to get into that role. So from my experiences, I've heard that you could maybe consider a foreman role after a few years of being a journeyman. But I have heard of a bunch of different scenarios as well. My case is in the Las Vegas area and in Nevada. And out here, the journeyman card isn't really highly respected. I don't know if I want to say respected, but considered necessary, I guess, is what I'll say about that. It's not really considered necessary to work as like a lead or, someone who is going to call themselves a journeyman. A lot of guys call themselves journeymen out here, but they don't actually have their journeyman card. They just usually pass a test within their company. So, and that test is honestly relatively simple. For example, in my case, I've had it just being based off of knowing the materials. So you do like a test on materials. You do a conduit bending lab where usually there's like a piece of plywood, and you do the just some quick like forward bends, 4-bend saddle, 90, a back-to-back 90, and after that, after the conduit bending, they'll usually have blueprints that you read, followed by wiring like a switch, a 4-way GFCI, and a plug, and also making sure that you have the proper tools. So honestly, not a lot to that. But that's kind of the situation in Vegas, and in other places it's going to be largely different, because California, for instance, to even get into electrical, you need to be enrolled in school, and not only enrolled in school, you need to get a card that says you're training, like an electrical trainee card. A lot of places still let you go and work without it. They just do it on the down low, but that is kind of the trajectory in other places. They'll have you have a journeyman card, and then they'll probably start counting hours after that. But places in Vegas, they only really honor experience, and then also typically if you pass that in-house journeyman test, and they'll maybe consider you more. It might be a way for you to get a raise if you get the journeyman card, but honestly, not a lot of prereqs that are required to do it. So basically, years of experience is what is your foot in the door to accessing these other roles within the company. So, and I've even heard guys who are like superintendents or general foreman, as long as they stay within the company and for a select amount of time, they're able to get to those positions. So recently I heard this perspective, which I've never really gotten before, because these are they seem to be tightly held secrets. I don't know why, to be honest. But I met a foreman who just kind of went from that transition to journeyman to foreman. He got hired on with the company as a journeyman. Then he was offered to run a small commercial job, and his experience, he doesn't have a journeyman card. He doesn't have he just has like 6 to 8 years experience, and that was his prereq. So he was able to get in with that without schooling, without that's the main point either. Without schooling and without a journeyman card, became a foreman. So I just wanted to put that out there, that companies in 2025 are still doing that and allowing that opportunity. So if you think that there's no way possible that you could ever get to that level, it is a thing. So to be fair, he does have a relative within the company who's also a foreman, but But I just wanted to kind of put that out there as something that I've heard, because I've never really seen that before. And for these newer guys that are coming up within the past few years, school and the ABC program in 5 years or 4 years is like a number that's thrown around a lot. But for instance, in Nevada, the requirement for taking the journeyman test is technically only like 2,000 or 4,000 hours, which is a year or less than a year of experience required, of on-the-job experience required to take the test. And honestly, it's not even to take the test. You can take the test, but and without any experience at all, and just do the open book test. But when you register, you have to show like W-2s, work history, and stuff like that. So you can physically take the test without any experience in electrical. Coming up with the hours afterwards to register is what's required. But just wanted to put that out there. And then talking about what qualities you need, that individual is probably one of the first foremen I have met that were pretty well tempered and calm. But it seems like to me, like the qualities that people are looking for in a foreman is that you generally know what you're doing, generally, and then B, that you can get other people to work, or you have a personality or a mentality that you keep about you that like makes people work. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the smartest in the code book or that you know a lot of stuff, but really it's just like, can you make other people work, and do they feel comfortable in trusting you with like a company truck? They have a general consensus that you seem like you know your stuff, and that you can like get people to move. So like it isn't like you're like I ruffle some feathers by saying this. It isn't that you're like super smart or that you're you know everything. Really, it seems like it comes down to is, do you have a personality where you're outgoing? You're not like just quiet all the time, or like keep to yourself. Like you check up on people, and you or at the, not even that. It doesn't even have to be that. To me personally, I think it's you have to be loud, or you can get loud. But in like the 98% of foremans that I've seen, they at least are bilingual, or can get people like start a fire under their ass. Like I feel like that's primarily what is required to be successful, because you got to be able to dish out the work, and then you also have to be able to get people to work, and also that tend to take the form of being like kind of threatening or make people feel like they're kind of dumb. In my experience, even if you're not doing anything that is like even if your work doesn't resemble that, like I've had foremen in the past who have like said that like stuff that I've worked on wasn't level, and it was perfectly level in the middle, in the lines and in the middle of the lines, and I've had them say that, and it's like, so basically what they're trying to do is just force a point that you like. There's a bunch of different ways that this can happen, but that they're trying to instill in you what they want the project to be, but they don't have the right words, or even bringing the conversation to the table in the right way. But they just kind of want to put it out there that they're above you, and that whatever they say goes, and that they're just kind of loud. That's typically what I've seen, that if I could point to the exact characteristics of what are required, is that's what you need. You need to be able to get people to work. You need to be able to dish out the work. You can read plans relatively well. And yeah, so that's just kind of like a 2025 example. Like if you don't think that you're capable of doing that, I would maybe just say that you should maybe put yourself out there more, be more outgoing if you aren't, because in all honesty, the people in the trade at the end of the day are just people, and a lot of them don't have sort of like the upbringing that the modern guys have. Like they didn't go to school, or they didn't go to school. They weren't in like some sort of like either the union or like the apprenticeship program. So like, just keep that in mind. If you're like holding yourself back from getting into a better position because you think you don't meet the qualifications or what have you, or you think it's out of your reach, just keep that in mind, that there are guys out there that are just relying on past experiences and primarily the fact that they can get people moving, and that they kind of schmooze well, or they like talk well. So, or not even well, they just kind of have a large personality. Not even that they get along with people, but just that they are confident in themselves and have a large personality. 98% of the time, that's what I've seen. It's just someone who can dish out work to people, and be able to have someone who can give consequences to people. Basically, that's what I've seen, is that it's someone who is not afraid to give out consequences, and that they're loud. So that's kind of my perception on what I've seen so far at 5 years in the trade. Let me know if you think if you don't think that's the case, but that's kind of my experience. So just kind of my 2 cents on that topic.